Hi folks, welcome back to CamTech and welcome to episode 1 of Davinci Resolve 16 in a hurry. Today we're going to talk about an effect called the write-on effect that allows us to display text on our screen on our project that looks like it's being typed on. Okay, so we want to make sure that we're in our media tab, in our media workspace. We want to select the file where we have our media located, and today I'm going to use this clip here. So I'm going to drag it down to the media pool and then we can navigate over to the edit workspace. I'll take this clip, drag it to the timeline, zoom out, and pick an approximate location of where I want to display this effect. And that looks pretty good right there. So now I want to make sure we have our effects library tab selected. We can navigate over to titles and then text plus. And with text plus, I'm just going to drag that over to our timeline. And let's zoom back out. All right, now I can select text plus. Now if we look over in our inspector tab, and if you don't see the inspector tab, just click on it here, open that up, and you can see our text box. Now I have a text passage that I'm going to paste in here, so I'm just going to go right click, edit, paste, and this is just a poem by John McGee called High Flight. It's actually just part of the poem. Okay, so I've got that selected. Now as you notice in here we have a lot of options for changing this text, and right now we won't go into all that, but the first thing I'm gonna do is notice that this text is pretty large, so I'm just going to drag my size slider over here to somewhere that's a little more appropriate, and that looks about right. Okay, now if you go down to the bottom of the inspector tab here, you'll see this write on, and basically you can see your in and out points for your keyframes. Now this write on effect is better dealt with actually in the Fusion workspace, so what we're going to do is navigate to the Fusion workspace. Okay, now you can see the text plus effect displayed here. Now if you don't see this area here on your screen, make sure you have keyframes selected. Then you can right click, scale to fit, and that will make sure that fits appropriately within inside that screen there. Alright, very good. Once we have that set, now if you navigate down here one more time on the write on effect, you can see how this is going to look as it's being displayed on the screen. So what we want to do is set our keyframes for our in and out points. Let's drag this out point all the way over to the left, and that will display no text at all. So at this point we want to set a keyframe, okay? And if you notice here, this is a timeline of our text effect. So it basically runs for about 150 or so frames. So somewhere in the middle here, we want to drag our playhead over, and let's just say right about there. That's about the 90 keyframe point. All right, now we can drag our out point all the way over to where the text is fully displayed. Now you can see this green line represents the text as it's being displayed over time. So it starts at 0 and it's gradually being typed on the screen, and at this 90 frame point it's fully displayed on the screen. So we have our keyframe set. Let's let this play and see how it looks. Okay, very good. I'd like to slow this down, so what I want to do is stop, and I want to take this white marker here and drag this out, and this is basically dragging out our keyframe. Let's play that again. Space bar to let it play, and again it's a little choppy because the computer is still rendering this. Alright, and that looks okay. Now the only problem is it's a fairly long passage, and I want this to be displayed on our screen for a longer time after the text is fully displayed so that the reader has more time to read it. So I'm going to go stop. Let's navigate back to our edit tab. Now what I want to do is extend out the time that this text effect is displayed on our screen. So I'm going to do this a couple different ways for demonstration. The easiest way is just to grab it here and slide it out. And now our text effect is extended out a little bit longer over time. The other way we can do this is to right click inside the clip, change clip duration, and you can see that this is currently set at 6 seconds and 22 frames. So let's go inside here, we'll click right there, and let's make it for 12 seconds. So now if we go back to our Fusion workspace, right click, scale to fit. Now we have that fitting inside our keyframes workspace area here, and let's just press play. And that looks pretty good for now, and the duration looks pretty appropriate. Now let's navigate back to our edit workspace, and I'm going to scroll back out. Now what I'd like to do is duplicate this clip. So I'm going to hold down my Alt key and drag this clip to the right, and what we've done is created a duplicate of this clip. Now what I want to do is introduce a background behind this clip to make it a little bit easier for the reader to read the passage. So I'm going to drag this clip up to video track 3 and then navigate over here to our effects library under generators and solid color, and I'm just going to drag this solid color clip over to our timeline. and I'm going to extend it to meet the same time as our clip, and we can select the solid color clip, and we can select color, and let's just pick a color that looks about right. Why don't we pick this kind of lavender color here. Okay, we have our color selected. Okay, so let's make sure we have our background clip selected, indicated by the red background. We'll go over here to our inspector under composite, and I want to drag this opacity so that I can still see the underlying clip, but it makes it a little bit easier to read since we have this background layer, and that looks about right. So let's play this clip and see how it looks. And that looks about right. Okay, so that's the write-on effect in Davinci Resolve 16. I hope you liked this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up. Consider subscribing to the channel. And if you haven't seen my Davinci Resolve Beginner's Guide, it's a quick run-through of setting up a full project and rendering it at the end. It's a pretty helpful video, I think. Check that out when you get finished with this one. And thanks for joining us today.